exact person.
Out and asked if you had read the indictment. You said you read it word for word, page for page, right?
I did. I keep up. I love Jackson.
Even though they've not been in court and they've not been found guilty, it's just an indictment at this
point. They don't see it. My first statement was, think of your family. Think about your family. Put your family first. I never thought in a million years we would have been put in the situation that we were in. Never. Because we went through our whole career doing the right thing.
It's utterly ridiculous to me. Utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of the Othor Cain Show. I'm Othor Cain. Glad to have you aboard on this Thursday evening. Sister O, how are you? Glad to see you here, ma'am. Good to have you here. Listen, glad you guys are here. We've got lots to talk about tonight. We've got lots to talk about tonight. We're going to try to get through what happened in the courtroom in Canton today. Hopefully we'll be joined by Walter Peoples, who's an independent candidate running for mayor. And also we've got some entertainment news. Certainly don't want to leave tonight without talking about our new American Idol, Jamal Roberts. We certainly want to talk about that tonight as well. But as always, I want to begin the broadcast tonight by simply saying thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for all of your support, all of your encouragement. Your financial contributions to this program means the world to me, means the world to us, and we are absolutely grateful for everything that you do. We absolutely can't do this without you. And when I tell you every nickel, every dime, every penny helps us do what we do, your financial contributions, sending us via Cash App, the scan, stars, all that you do for us is extremely appreciative, and we are very, 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 very grateful. But even beyond that, and I'm telling you, we can't do it without your financial contributions. So thank you. Dr. J and I are working on some amazing sponsorship packages, and we're going to meet and talk about that and hopefully launch that within the coming weeks. But beyond, hey, ma'am, Cherish, how are you, ma'am? Good to see you. It's been a minute. Good to see you. It's been a minute. But beyond your financial contributions that are very important, so don't stop it. But beyond that, to see the level of support and engagement these last couple of days, being in Canton and watching the engagement, watching the folk plug into what we are doing. It says so many things. Number one, it identifies a real need, right? It identifies a real need. And we're grateful to provide that need, to fill that gap. We are absolutely grateful to be able to do that, to bring you that. So we're grateful for that. But, it also says to me that people are just hungry for information dissemination. People are just hungry for good information, for information dissemination. So every single day we're in a meeting, we're working, we're pushing, we're begging to try to expand this thing, to try to do more. We are laser focused on this effort. We are absolutely laser focused on this effort. And sometimes God has to push you into a space of doing what you've been called to do. Sometimes we know our calling, right? Sometimes we know our calling, but sometimes we are afraid to act on it, if we're honest. Sometimes we know our calling and we know what we're supposed to be doing, but sometimes we are absolutely afraid to act on it. And sometimes God has to smack you upside the head, push you into doing what you know you're supposed to be doing. Sometimes God has to push you into doing what you know you're supposed to be doing. Well, good afternoon. Well, evening to you, Daddy. Hope you're doing well, ma'am. Ma'am, hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, right? Hope you're doing well. Hope you, Doris, I owe you a call. I saw you call me yesterday or earlier today. I saw that you called me. I owe you a call, but you're absolutely my forever friend. Absolutely. And Cherish, you're right. Fear creeps in. Fear creeps in. Fear creeps in. You know, most of us know what we're supposed to be doing, right? Most of us know what we're called to do. Most of us know what we're called to do, but that fear kicks in, and not only fear, but sometimes we get so comfortable doing what we're doing, right? And we don't want to move outside of our comfort zone. But sometimes God goes, He smacks you upside the head and says, I'm not going to bless you. I'm not going to enlarge your territory until you begin to do what I've called you to do. And so we're fighting hard, right? And we're pushing hard for this space and to be able to tell our stories, owning our stories, controlling our narratives. And so we're fighting hard to do that and to do that consistently and to do it in a very concise kind of way. But I want to move to, our first story tonight, and hopefully within the next few minutes, we'll be joined by, Walter Peoples, who's running for mayor in Canton. He's an independent candidate, so hopefully we'll be joined by him in just a few minutes. But I want to just bring, especially those of you from Canton that are almost there, and I welcome all of our new Canton followers and supporters. We're grateful that you are in this place. So thank you for being here. But I want to begin covering the story in Canton. So for the last 2 days, I've been in Canton in the courtroom covering this election contest trial in Canton. So today is Thursday, yeah. So yesterday, so all day yesterday, and I was there half day today because I had meetings this morning, so I didn't get there until right at 1:30 this afternoon. But it's very interesting. I think that there are election contests and cases all across Mississippi, and especially in rural Mississippi, and especially in small town Mississippi. I think those cases are there, right? I think they exist. I think those cases exist. But I had a front row seat in Canton on Wednesday, and then half day today. I had a front row seat, and man, let me tell you, I learned a lot. I learned a lot over the course of yesterday and half day today. I learned a lot, man. I learned a lot, and so I'll go backwards a couple of times. So I'll say this: Judge Will has not ruled, right? So everything wrapped up today. Everything wrapped up today around 5 o'clock. He was not going to go, not he was not going to go a day over 2 days, nor a minute longer than 5 o'clock today. So he wrapped at 5 today, but he wrapped without making a determination or offering a ruling. So, according to him, he expects to do it in short order within the next couple of days. I got a sneaky suspicion he might issue his decision tomorrow. But I would also say at the very latest, it will probably be Tuesday, right? I got a sneaky feeling, sneaky impression that he might offer his decision tomorrow. But I also think at the very latest it will be Tuesday. That's just me guessing, particularly when you look at how close the general election is. It is upon us. It is absolutely upon us. But I want to walk you through what I observed in Canton these last couple of days. And so thank you to all of my good folk, Exit 119, for plugging in with us. But I want to talk about what I had an opportunity to observe it. So this was an election contest, right? George says yes. In small town problems exist. Back in the day when my mom got me into politics, we didn't have those problems, but that was in 1980. Yeah, I get it. And it seems like Canton, and it seems like Canton always has election issues, man. Always have election issues. So it seems like every single election in Canton, there's an issue. It seems like every single election in Canton, there's an issue. And so, at any rate, the election contest trial that happened in Canton on Wednesday and today was Dr. Walker, Camilla Walker. She challenged or contested the race that she lost in the runoff election. She came up short, and Tim Taylor won the runoff race, and so she contested that, and so that's what Judge Will is trying to decide whether or not there was voter disenfranchisement. That's what Judge Will, based on all the testimony, Judge Will has got to decide if there was enough evidence presented to support Dr. Walker's claims of voter disenfranchisement. In just a few moments, like I told you, we'll be joined by Walter Peoples, who is an independent candidate running for mayor in Canton. So we'll pull him in just a few moments. But I want to set this space, want to set this tone before I pull him in, and then after he leaves, we'll circle back to this. And so Judge Will is charged with the responsibility of deciding if Dr. Walker's team made their case, and if they made their case well enough to determine whether there's a new election, a new runoff election held, or not, right? And I will tell you that I learned several things. One thing, though, I did learn that was a standout for me. One thing that I did learn is that maybe my focus on the definition of voter disenfranchisement was probably too narrow. Maybe that's what I learned. No, not maybe that's what I learned. I did learn that. I did learn that my definition of voter disenfranchisement was perhaps too narrow. My focus was too narrow, and that maybe disenfranchisement comes in several different forms. Maybe that is what I learned. Maybe that's what I learned. But I will tell you, though, I don't necessarily know that Dr. Walker's team did the best job of laying out the case of voter disenfranchisement, right? I don't know that they did the best job of laying out the case. When you hear disenfranchisement, well, let me say when you hear, let me tell you when I hear the word or the term voter disenfranchisement, I think of I think of suffering. I think of hardships. I I think of deliberate action against someone, right? I I think of there's a plan, deliberate plan to create hardships or create ways for me not to vote. That's me. That's the way my mind works. And I will tell you, for me, I don't think Dr. Walker's team did a good enough job. And I'm not the judge, so I don't know how the judge will decide. But for me, I don't think Dr. Walker's team did a good enough job of proving voter disenfranchisement. Now, I think what they did do good is they kept using this word. It's the cumulative total or the cumulative sum of all the things that happen that creates voter disenfranchisement. So I will tell you, because of that, I learned that maybe my scope of the meaning of disenfranchisement was a little disenfranchisement was a little limited based on what they presented. But I think for me, they presented more of a case maybe about voter integrity and maybe about voter protection, right? I think that I think they proved that for me. I think they proved um, voter. Perhaps they should have made the case for voter integrity or voter protection, and not necessarily voter disenfranchisement, because they spent an absorbent amount of time, far too long in my personal opinion, but they spent an absorbent amount of time speaking with and questioning Dr. Anderson, who's the city clerk, municipal clerk there in Canton. They spent an absorbent amount of time with her and talking about bags and talking about logs, and I'm trying to think of the word. I can't even think of the word. I just lost the word. But they spent an absorbent amount of time with her, and so maybe the case should have been about voter integrity. Um, and voter protection versus voter disenfranchisement, because they spent an absorbent amount of time with her that really did not prove their case. But I want to pause. I'll come back and wrap up my thoughts about the case. But I want to pause and pull Walter Peoples in. Walter is running for mayor of Canton. He was in court both days, and we'll probably talk a little bit about what he observed as well. But Walter is running as an independent in the city of Canton, seeking to become the next mayor. And I think that what they did not subpoena him for court, but they did send a letter, and I don't think that he actually got the letter. I think that they sent a letter, and I think the purpose of the letter was to give him an opportunity to offer his opinion and to talk about if there was a reason for him to object to the hearing or figure out his space in there, because general election is just a couple of weeks away. But anyway, let's pull Brother Walter Peoples into our conversation tonight. Walter, good evening to you, sir.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Cain. How are you?
I am doing well, man. Doing well. Thank you for being here. Great meeting you earlier this afternoon. I will tell you, Walter pulled me to the side, and we had a conversation after things were over this afternoon. And so it was great meeting you and having an opportunity to talk to you. Before we talk to Walter about specifically what happened over these last 2 days in Canton, I want to just give our viewers an opportunity to know who you are. Tell us a little bit about who Walter Peoples is and why you're running for mayor.
Well, you've already said my name. Thank you. Again, my name is Walter Peoples the second, and I want to make sure I say the second because I would like to not only give honor to God for everything He asked me to do, but honor to my father, who was in my life always until his passing. And I must mention there's a Walter the third. I've been in Canton 12 years, and I began in Canton as an automotive instructor for Canton Career Center. At Canton Career Center, we achieved quite a few different things, making that program nationally certified, and that was my beginning in Canton, moving on from national certification to the only automotive program in the state that can allow students to get college credits while taking a high school course as an automotive student. First automotive instructor in Canton to get students to be ASE certified in the automotive industry, and who has employed several of those students and got them employed in different dealerships across the state and in other states. Currently, I'm on Canton's Chamber of Commerce board, and I've been on that board for a few years. Um, my students, not just my students, but my children are students in Canton Public Schools currently. My two youngest, I have six, but my two youngest, which is Walter and Palin. Walter goes to Reuben and Palin goes to Porter.
Uh-oh, I think he froze.
Important to me, and not only that, pros. Well, education and public safety is two major things that are important to me because I have young children that I'm raising in Canton. They use the term Cantonian in the court today. By the definition of the crowd, I'm officially not a Cantonian. I've been in Canton 12 years, but I will say I'm a proud father of two Cantonians. So my interest is serious because my children are serious to me. But that's a little bit about me. You want a little bit more?
Hey, I like that, man. So I will tell you that I am a Cantonian, and it was funny. And it was funny hearing Judge Will use that term today. So that was really funny. So tell me a little bit about why you're seeking the office of mayor.
Since I've been in Canton, you begin just observing. You worrying about your own household, and you begin observing. And every election that passed, I felt like, man, I don't understand this move that the city made, or I don't understand this particular move. Why do we get the short end of the stick of this particular deal? I started getting involved, going to city hall meetings, popping in, making statements, helping them make certain citizen. And then the last election, I actually was going to run, and my alderman.
So we're having some.
And my alderman, I needed him for. I needed my alderman for a drainage issue, and he handled it. His name was Alderman Fred Esco, and I chose not to run against him because he did what I would expect the alderman to do. I wanted to run against him, but then it was like, why run against somebody that did the job I expected to do? So I didn't run against him. This particular race, as you move through the city and you getting to know more and more people, there is nobody satisfied with Kansas local government. Before January, before anybody put their name in the race, everybody said everything I heard people discuss fit me. was like, and so I began praying on it. Like, hey, look, God is, I have a very interesting story that of how I ended up in Mississippi and the things that God actually had me do to when I arrived in Mississippi. And it's very unique, and it's a weird story. So, but all of those tasks were in direct relation to being mayor. So it became obvious to me that this was the path that he had for me.
Good deal, man. Good deal. Good deal. So what are your priorities as should you be elected mayor? What are your priorities for the city?
On the number one, we have to build trust between local government and our citizens before we go anywhere else. Okay. We have to build trust between the position mayor and the alderman board. Okay. There has to be a trust there that the alderman can make a decision, and then it get carried out by the mayor. We have to have a mayor that is not tied into different families and different cliques, and can go, are you doing your job? It's not going to affect me. I don't have cousins and aunts or uncles, and are you doing your job? We have to build that trust. And I say to me, that's number one. We build that trust through action and consistency. You got to take action, and you got to be consistent with the action. I know a lot of people want to jump into the different departments that they want to see a change in, but change must begin in the trust, and then we have to move from that trust as a team. Okay, you have a team, you can accomplish anything, any situation, and right now it really wouldn't matter if I became mayor tomorrow. Until that trust is built, I'm just another person in that building that the city is like, man, forget them. They don't do anything for us. So,
Right. How did you build it? How did you build trust?
oh, wow. Well, one of the things I most likely would do as soon as I get there, we have to have an audit. You begin with an audit. I can't be transparent or honest with a community, and I don't really know how the money is being spent. We haven't had an audit in about 3-4 years. You could be the best alderman in the world. You could be the best. Let's assume that you showed up for work on time and you wanted to be the best alderman in the world. If you haven't had an audit for you to look at, you cannot be truthful when you tell the people that you know how the money has been spent. Okay, so we have to be transparent with facts. And you have an audit, and then you be transparent about the things you find, and you start making adjustments, improving situations. You enter one deal, and on face value you thought it was a good deal, but when you look at the audit, you can start making adjustments. So we don't have to spend that much right here. We can cut a little bit of this, or we need to add to this particular department, and then you add something else to that. We have to be compassionate to the people that have problems, even if it's something that you haven't, it doesn't deal with you. And I'm gonna give you an example. I was at City Hall when they were up there protesting, or they wanted some change in the police department. And you hearing both sides, because I was there to talk to the board, but I also was in the hallway listening to the citizens and how they felt. There was a lot of pain there. I wasn't satisfied as a citizen that the city did not come out and just something as simple as just go, hey, we hear you and we're going to look into this. Information has been presented to us. We're going to look at it. There was not a message. There was nothing. You can't earn trust in a community by not talking to them. It just doesn't work that way.
Right, but Walter, I got to push back on that a little bit.
Okay.
And I push back on that only from the standpoint of processes, right? There are processes that you have to follow, right? I'm not saying that no one from the city could not have at least said something publicly to them. But I do think, though, that the bulk of those people that showed up were expecting to speak, and
Mm,
and, and they
yeah,
felt that something different was supposed to happen for them. That wasn't the process for that, right? So I
right,
think that the bulk of those people that showed up, they were misinformed, and they showed up under false pretenses, right? They showed up thinking that A, B, C, D was going to happen,
right.
and if I'm honest, they were lied to. So they
Yeah.
showed up under false pretenses, and I would tell you, as a body of elected official, as a municipality, there are rules that you have to follow in terms of conducting a meeting and for people to be able to present at a meeting. And so I understand the disappointment, right? Because somebody at the city could have at least said, you guys may have gathered here under false pretenses. This is the policy. This is how we operate. This is how you're able to address us. But those people were misled. They were misinformed, and sadly, the elected officials are taking the blame and the heat and the rap for something that they did not create, right? For something that they
Right.
did cause, right? So you're absolutely right. Trust is needed. Trust should be there. But I also think that due diligence has to be done on the folk who lured those people to City Hall that night.
Okay. So, and this is something that I would like to see with the city. It's just like me and you right now.
Absolutely.
I would like to see a city that a board that it's okay to disagree. Okay, and I didn't believe that they weren't owed an answer from the board in that context of how it was presented. They weren't owed an answer. Um, but I'm just gonna say this: as mayor, I would have made sure they got a message.
And I get
I don't,
that.
yeah,
And I
I don't. I'm not saying what. I'm not telling. I'm not saying okay. We're gonna do this, this, and this. They had. I didn't say they had an answer coming the way they did it, but there should have been an acknowledgement. Okay, a storm comes and it damages homes and houses. Do is the local government? Do they owe the community a conversation about the destruction? No. But you come and make a statement because you're sympathetic to what's going on to them. You let them know you're there for them. You let them know that's building trust. Listen, I recognize the pain that no justice has on any person. I don't have to experience it to know. I can just say, listen, I understand. We're going to listen to all new information that comes. And we're going to try to make some adjustments. We're going to try to figure this out. We're going to get you some type of answer. Not necessarily telling them tomorrow, but we are going to have some conversations and get back to you on this.
right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
And
that.
and so I think that I agree, and we'll go on, but I think that I 100% agree with your fundamental point. I 100% agree with your fundamental point. But I will tell you though, the analogy, the example that you use, I probably disagree with, because I believe that the mayor and elected officials, I believe that they owe, if you're dealing with a storm, if a storm happens in Canton, I absolutely believe it's the responsibility of government to tell these citizens how we're going to operate and navigate through this space. They are owed that. That's their fundamental judiciary responsibility. So they owe them that. I believe, to your larger point, though, building trust, I believe that somebody should have addressed those citizens, from the government side. Not necessarily let them speak, but at least to say, we hear you. We know
Yeah,
why you're here. Let me tell you this, because
that was their storm. See,
right. And I
it was
get
that was their storm.
right,
You say
right,
like this.
right, 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 right. And I get that. That was your storm metaphorically, but not physically, and not in all actuality, right?
Right.
So I can't recall whether I don't know if the mayor was in executive session that night or not. I know that he wasn't in regular session. I don't know if he joined them in executive session.
You already know the answer, so let's you.
No, I really don't. I don't know if he joined them in executive session or not. I do know he wasn't in regular session because I witnessed
Okay.
it. I watched that, so I can't speak to executive session. So I am going to assume that he wasn't there, right? But even with him not being there, I think that Esco is like mayor pro temp or something like that, right? Because I saw him on the mayor's dais during the regular session. So him or somebody should have just at least said, "Thank y'all for being here. We hear you. We understand the issue," right?
Exactly.
But I think the larger responsibility, and I think, and for me, it's just about being fair. I think the larger responsibility was on the person that got them there. I think the person that lured them to City Hall under false pretenses had the responsibility of saying to them, "You're not going to be able to speak," right? Because that person knew on Monday during work session that this issue was going to be taken up in executive session. Those people didn't understand that. And it wasn't the city's responsibility to tell them that. It was the person who lured them to City Hall. It was that person, Lawrence Blackman. It was his responsibility to tell them that I am presenting tonight in executive session.
Right.
You're not going to be able to come in there with me.
So this goes back to where we are as a community. We're in a community right now that we have to be building trust. So I do not. I don't agree with the person or how they were conducting the business. I personally spoke to him and told him that that's not how I would have done it. I told him that personally. So with that, we still have a responsibility to continuously today. What happens to a man when they feel they have received this injustice and they're not going to get it? People take things out in their own hands. You must always, as local government, let them know that you're handling that situation, because I don't know the type of man I would be if my immediate family was harmed and I don't feel like there will be justice. I got to get into some fasting. I got to get into some deep prayer to hold me to being a good citizen. You have people there, and I'm listening to the emotion. I feel the feel, and I'm feeling the energy. You don't let them leave in that state, period. Now, that's just me, okay? That's me.
No, I get it.
That's why I'm running for mayor. Because no matter how they feel it, you can say I'm not a Cantonian. Those was my people. Hey, listen, we gonna figure this out.
I get that. I totally get it. I absolutely get it, man. I think your heart is in the right place. So I totally get it, and I totally see why you're running. I want to talk though just a little bit on what you experienced over these last 2 days. You were scheduled, and I think according to your testimony, not officially sworn testimony, but according to your public statements on Monday, you never received a certified letter about the proceedings that happened on Monday or on yesterday and today, right?
Correct. No knowledge of it at all. Found out the day before. Say it's about the election. Let me swing by, and to swing by and find out that there was decisions that for me to make was pretty odd. But at the same time, I looked at the situation and I wanted the same thing for myself or my opponent. If my opponent felt like, it wasn't done fairly, I want them to have their day in court and to prove what injustice was. So, to me, I didn't understand exactly what the claim was, at the time. So it's like, hey, sit down and listen, because at the same time, it was class for me. I learned quite a bit in these 2 days of listening. Couple of weird things. Don't cross Miss Ross or Miss Blackman, neither one of them. So
That's funny.
I did. That was one of the first, the first two things I learned. And if you can, don't stand in between them if they going at it. So
that is too funny. So what do you think? What did you think of the proceedings?
First and foremost, I have some personal opinions due to some facts that I'm aware of when it pertains to her case. Because I personally believe that some people were disenfranchised. And that's because, and I don't want to give anybody anything crazy, on the campaign trail, going house, knocking on a door, knocking on another door, I crossed people who were in the annexed area, and they said that they were in the county and they can't vote in the city. And you going through this and you explaining, I'm at a house too long, trying to explain to them that this area was annexed. And after so many people, Ms. Walker testified that she let Truly know, but I ended up seeing Truly, and I told him what I experienced. Now, he didn't do anything. I was still campaigning, crossed some more people, same issue. I went to the city board and let them know. And I told them direct, like, hey, listen, I'm crossing people. I didn't know how to handle that situation. This is my first time in the political arena. I went to the city board and I just told them, hey, listen, I'm crossing a lot of people that keep telling me they don't know that the area's been annexed, not knowing what to do with that information other than give it to the board. So I made it my business to go to the board and let them know, what was happening. And so I did. It made me aware of is what it made me aware of was after her election. So it's a serious thing to me, because I did understand Attorney Ross saying, like, hey, why didn't you put this information out before the election? So now here it is. I'm looking at this like, wait a minute, I crossed this same problem. I see this. I'm looking at it right now. What steps should I take to make sure I don't want to be in the exact same situation?
Man, I hate you're freezing up.
Bringing it up after people, what people's reasons are for why they don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Let me ask you this question though. And well, look, Dr. Anderson has made a post. She was like, Walter Peoples, when did you come to a meeting to address the board? Can you answer that?
I honestly couldn't tell you the exact date because I didn't come in thinking I was doing any. It wasn't in a capacity of saying it was a wrongdoing. I was just letting them know what I found and asking them what I can do about it. But
right.
One good thing about it is the people of the board. They know me, and I don't believe that one of them would state that I'm telling a story, because we had a conversation in the boardroom.
Right. But I think that you could probably kind of figure out when you were there, like when you were campaigning and you ran into these issues and you had these conversations with people. When did that take place? And shortly after,
it was one of their board meetings, but it was after the first April 1st election.
Got it.
I've been at City Hall so many dates I've had just dealing with this. I've been up there so many times that would be a difficult thing for me. Um, I unless a city official would say or did not come up there, I wouldn't have no interest. If they say that, then that's on them. Because right now, what we do know from testimony today is that there are some things that should be taking place to make sure they know. Because I asked them to be, my thing was, can we send them out anything? Can we?
Well, Walter, let me jump in, because here's what's confusing to me.
Mhm.
The candidates that ran for alderman of Ward 4, and Ward 4 is seemingly the biggest point of contention in this space. The candidates that ran for alderman live in the annexed areas. So how is it that they live in the annexed area, they campaign in the annexed area, and the folk in the annexed area don't know that they can vote? That makes absolutely zero sense to me.
I can't give you an answer to why people. A lot of them have lived there a long time.
Oh man, I hate you freezing, because this
Like I stated before, I went to the board for an answer. I spoke directly to Tim. I remember specifically Tim said, well, let's hear what he got to say about that. I want to know myself. I told him, hey, I don't know what to do with this information, but I said, is there anything we can post on the city website? Maybe we can push it a little bit with some directions. So that's kind of where it went.
Right, but I guess I missed your answer. You froze, and I hate your freezing up. I don't know if it's Wi-Fi issues or not, but it froze up. I guess my point of confusion, my state of confusion is the folk that ran for alderman for Ward 4 live in the annexed area.
Right.
All of the areas that were brought up as a point of contention, they live in those annexed areas. Those two individuals didn't file a lawsuit, didn't file a contest. They live in the annexed area. How do they know they live in the annexed area? They run in the annexed area, and the damn voters that live there don't know that they are there. I don't understand that. And to me, that was never proven in court these last 2 days.
That's what you said is fact. I have the same question, but it doesn't change when you knocking on doors and people are telling you that they don't know. And of course, just like even the judge said in there, he's like, well, weren't you informing them? I surely did. I was informing as I was campaigning. I'm telling people, but just because I'm telling people, I didn't reach everybody. So what I did was I didn't just be like, well, that's not my problem. I went to the board and I said, hey, listen, maybe we should put this on I didn't say vote Walter Peoples on the site. I said we need to see how we could go in maybe get a little more information out, because there are people who didn't know. I didn't even see it when I went, I didn't see it as a problem of, hey, this is I said, after I crossed it so many times, I thought I should tell somebody.
Right. And so you're running into those people while you're on the campaign trail. Did you say to them, now you know, and you should go do something? You should go
absolutely
to the clerk's office or wherever you do your voter registration stuff at, to make sure all of your stuff is together so that you can vote.
Absolutely. I saw this big old thing from Dr. Anderson, and they pay city taxes. Well, unfortunately, that's one of the things we definitely need to push, is for us in our community to own more things, because normally the taxes go to the owner. If you're leasing, you don't see the taxes, only the owner sees the taxes, but you'll feel it because normally next time your lease come up, the rent's gonna go up because of taxes.
I also think that statement assumes that the entire annexed area is just a park, and that's not true.
No, it's not. King Ranch, you got King Ranch.
But
right.
Here, that those people are paying taxes. I think that your statement assumes that the entire annexed area is just apartments.
No, absolutely not. You got several different areas. But keep in mind, I think we going off from a different thing. I did experience people saying that they were county. And I didn't go to court. I went to the board and informed them, like, hey, maybe you should put it on the city website. I didn't say, hey, we need to go to court, and no, I just noticed that there was a lot of people misinformed.
Right.
And you take it to the board and say, hey, look, this is what I face.
Right. And we won't belabor the point, but again, I remain confused as to why candidates for alderman didn't follow suit when they ran in that ward. They live in the annexed area, which means that they probably campaign more in that geographical space than the candidates running for mayor, because they live in that ward, right? They were running specifically for that ward, which to me would mean that they would face more voters that didn't know they were in an annexed area, and neither one of them offered an election contest or challenge. That's
so
interesting to me.
So let me say this. Wouldn't it be easy to ask the people who ran that area, did they cross people who?
You broke up.
They ran in that one out. They made the exact same thing.
I didn't get your question. You're freezing. You're going in and out for me. Wouldn't it be easier to do what now?
Maybe they did the same thing that I did when they crossed the situation by just informing the people of the information. But just because you informed them, that doesn't mean that nobody asked those candidates. They campaigned there. I'm absolutely sure that they encouraged them to come vote, and also informed them of those who didn't know that they were part of the city. The same thing that every candidate did when they crossed that situation. They let them know, hey, listen, hey, this is part of the
but listen, common sense would say, well, this is my common sense. If I am running for alderman in Ward 4, and if I encounter the problems that you yourself say that you encountered in terms of running into people who don't even know that they're in an annexed area, who don't even know that they can vote in the city of Canton, and I am knocking doors, and I'm running into all of these people, that's a red flag for me.
Okay.
And as a candidate, I'm going to raise that concern, right? I'm going to raise that concern and say, everybody, every door that I'm knocking on, everybody that I'm reaching out to, they don't know that they can vote in Canton. They don't know. I can't possibly win this race with the folk that I'm going after, because they don't know that they can vote in Canton. And so as a candidate, then I should be screaming and raising my voice in that space more than Ms. Walker did, because I'm running in that ward. But neither of them did. And so, and somebody won, right? Somebody won in Ward 4.
So I'm gonna ask you a question.
All right.
Do you believe, and because it's easy to say that everybody knows, do you believe that absolutely everybody got the information?
Before you ask your question, I did not say everybody knows. I did not say that. And that's not necessarily my belief, because I don't think that you can get to everybody. But ask your question.
When you're going door to door, sometimes you don't reach everybody. I say that I thought it was a ridiculous problem, but I thought it wouldn't hurt to put some extra information on the city website, and that's why I brought it to the board. I didn't think it would hurt to to assist and get a little more information out there if people have said it. I have no reputation in this community of lying about anything. So when I go to the board, that's why I chose to go to the board. My race wasn't there yet.
Right. What was your question? I didn't. You froze, so I didn't hear your question to me. What was your question?
Well, you answered it. You answered my question. I was saying, do you think no one was? You thought everyone was aware that
Got it.
it was annexed. I mean, some people do slip through the and some people slip through the cracks. Now, like I said, now if you saying, are you asking? I think it affected the election and things like that. No, but I'm what I'm telling you is I am a witness. There were people who said
And I
they didn't know.
I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe that. Tiffany says, I don't think what he's saying is true because my grandmother was recently
Oh,
annexed
you
to the
flip it.
city. And she
That's
was
a,
well
that's a
aware of
fact.
the thing.
Because there's no way that I would have stopped, said, you know what, let me go down to City Hall and tell the alderman that these people have told me that they're not part of the city. What would be the purpose of doing that? I went and told them what I found, and that's what happened.
Right, right. And to your larger point, I don't believe everybody was informed, right? Because to the testimony of the circuit clerk today, it's a work in progress. And so they are still uploading streets and doing all those kinds of things. So it's a work in progress.
Oh, there was
But do I think enough of that happened
a major
to
question in court today.
impede
And that
the
question was,
integrity of the election? I do not. I hate
hello,
that we're
your question didn't come through. Your question didn't come to me.
Yeah, I hate that we're having these technical difficulties, brother. My bad on that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't know if it's Wi-Fi or something. Something's going on. I don't know.
Let me see if I can switch to my phone.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
But I don't think we have this. People are taking it in a context just because you witnessed something. I witnessed it. It is that's what happened. I witnessed it and I reported it. But in the same situation, and this is exactly what happened in court. She was asked, "Well, why didn't you do? Why would you bring this up after we voted?" But then when somebody before the vote, because they haven't voted for me yet, listen to how people react to it. I did experience that, and you can't change it. And I brought it to the board.
Right.
She was drilled on that right in the courtroom. Oh, so you look, you didn't say nothing about this before. Well, I'm saying we should be concerned about people not being able to vote. To any candidate,
All the time, not just when we lose, but all the time, right? All the time.
All the time. I'm speaking about this before my election. My election hasn't happened. So, yes, I want to make sure that everybody, exercises their right to vote. I don't understand why that would be offensive to any person. Okay, everybody should have the right to vote. And people were telling me that they didn't know that they can vote in the city election. I brought it to the city and said, hey, maybe we should get some extra information out. That's a fact. That's a fact.
But you did hear, because you were there yesterday and you were there today. So you did hear, though, Dr. Anderson and the circuit clerk talk about doing the work. And they've been having these conversations about doing the work since January, right? They had conversations about mailing out cards and informing people since January. Has everybody been notified? I don't know. And maybe I don't think that they have. But it was clear that they've been doing the work. So I think that it is unfair to say that the city didn't do its job in terms of making people aware.
That's not what I never said that. I didn't know if the city was supposed to be the one that told them or not when I went to address the city. I said that earlier. I couldn't tell you if they were supposed to tell them or not. When I went to the board, I said that we have some people who do not know, and maybe we should post it on the city website. That was the suggestion that I left. I didn't say, hey, the city didn't do this or they didn't do that. I never stated anything like that because I did not know. I was learning in that courtroom like you. I was learning, and the actions I took was to the best of my ability. Okay, this crossed me. I didn't know how to handle it other than to keep campaigning and informing people as I went. But when I found it to be, I was like, man, that's too many people just told me that. I decided to share it with the city board. Now I just saw Tim Taylor chime in right there. Yeah, I
I
mean, with a
didn't see it.
message. I mean, unless he could say right now that if he felt like I never came and said anything to the board, I saw him on there. I'm calling him. He was right there. Does he know if I came to the board or not? He can state that. He can say
So
yes or no.
I don't know,
Right?
Dr. J, I don't know if you can still see Tim
Yeah.
Taylor's comment because I missed it. I didn't see it.
Oh,
If
I
you
can't see his
still
comments.
Tim
I saw
Taylor's
the question pop, but he can say yes or no if I came to the board or not.
Got it. He says, wow, completely amazing.
That's not an answer. He can say yes, did I come to the board or not?
No, I think he posted that comment before you asked him a question. So your question is,
did
if
I
Tim
come to the
Taylor-
board? I mean, because people are kind of saying it like I didn't go, but I have no gain. I have no who blamed. I don't know anything about blaming people. No, I don't see anybody. People not getting information does not mean that there was somebody at fault. Just because I live in for instance, my street was annexed. I didn't find out that they moved me from Ward 2 to Ward 3. I don't think it was anybody's fault that I didn't know. I didn't blame anybody. But when I truthfully, I wanted to run for alderman originally. But
and you
get us my mind. So I don't people should stop saying it's people's fault. Just because some information might not have got to a person, that doesn't mean that it was malice or it was somebody's necessarily their fault, because I never made a statement like that. And so that's
I think though, and to Tiffany's point though, I do think that there is a level of responsibility and a burden that residents and voters must share in this space, right? So I think there's a level of responsibility that
yes.
candidates must bear and shoulder. I think there's a level of responsibility and burden that the municipality must share and burden. But I also think that there's a level of responsibility that residents and voters must bear in this space as well, right?
Absolutely. And people should quit. Listen, you could be on any side. You could be, let's say, for instance, you a Tim Taylor supporter, or you could be a Walter People supporter. When people are in the discussion of space, this is how we improve. This is how we get better. We should be able to speak freely about the truths that we have. As long as there was no lie entered into the conversation, it's okay to. This is what we need. We have to converse about how do we make things better. We plan on annexing some more. Guess what? As mayor, I plan that we
Man,
had
I
in the
hate
city. We needed
it.
to annex more area. Be getting money from Amazon and areas. So guess what? The errors that we might have made with a previous annexation, we won't make it for the next. Quit getting into the space of looking for faults and all of that. We just gotta, every time we do something, do it better.
Right.
Do it.
Right. I do think, though, I do think that, on the flip side of looking for fault and
No.
blame,
Hey, guess
I
what?
do think there's a level of responsibility. Right. I do think there's a
Right.
level of responsibility. But listen,
Right.
man.
I believe that Tim Taylor wants a fair election. He didn't contest her going down there to file to she exercised her right.
Well, Mr. Taylor didn't contest at all. It was Mr. Walker, Dr. Walker, that's contested. But I think that we're going to wrap because we're having technical audio issues. I think we're going to wrap, and hopefully we can bring Mr. Peoples back on when we no longer have these technical difficulties, because I would love to have a full uninterrupted conversation with him, particularly about his space, in the courtroom today. But let me just give some final thoughts because we're over time. It's 9:05. Let me just give some final thoughts about what happened in the courtroom today. It looked like he came in on another device because he froze like all together there. We'll get him back in and give him an opportunity to offer some final thoughts. Hey man, so you got on your phone. I know that other piece was a big old challenge. And so I want to be able to give you an opportunity to come back so that we can have a conversation without interruptions. But we are past time.
I can't hear you at all. Hold on. Let me.
Well, I can hear you. So let's just take him out of stream and we'll just circle back and reconnect with him at another time. And I'll go on and wrap up for tonight. But I want to share these thoughts with you about what I observed in the courtroom today, and I'll do it in a couple of minutes, and I'll spend some more time within the next couple of days, and probably more specifically when Judge Will rules. I am of the opinion that Dr. Walker did not prove her case in court. I think because I think that was on him tonight. I am of the opinion that over the course of these last 2 days, yesterday and today, that Dr. Walker did not prove voter disenfranchisement. I don't think that was proven. I think maybe if she was contesting voter integrity, I think maybe if she was challenging or contesting voter security, that maybe there could be a real conversation around that. I'm not a judge. I don't have a legal mind, so I don't know how Judge Will is going to rule. This is just my observation. But as far as power, I might need it when I'm out and about and remote. I'll say that to you. So I don't think that Dr. Walker's team proved that. I think that they spent far too much time with Dr. Anderson. I think they spent far too much time going through the contents of bags and boxes and what they deemed as Dr. Anderson's personal box. I just think that they spent far too much time there. And I think I understand why they did it. I think that I understand that they were trying to, and again, it broadened my view and my understanding of voter disenfranchisement. And why do I feel like I'm saying that word wrong? It seems like I'm adding another syllable. It tastes funny saying that word. But I think that they spent far too much time trying to prove the culmination of events that create voter disenfranchisement instead of focusing and spending time on being able to prove this person was turned around at the precinct, or this person's vote was not counted, or this person's vote was not cast. If we're talking about voter disenfranchisement, I think your focus should be on who was turned around, who didn't have an opportunity to vote, whose vote was not counted. Instead of talking about supplies and seals, and those things are important, but I just think that they spent too much time on that. I think the average Joe Blow, when you think of voter disenfranchisement, you're not thinking about seals. You're not thinking about whether a box is locked or whether this ballot is in this box. I think when the average person, the way my mind is set up, the way my brain functions, I am thinking about Othor was not able to vote. Othor was turned around. They prevented Othor from voting. Othor's ballot wasn't counted. None of that was proven. None of that was proven. And I believe because they couldn't prove that, or at least they didn't attempt to prove that. Let me say that. They didn't attempt to prove that. And I believe what they said. I believe they saw so many other things that maybe their attention shifted to all of those other things. And because for whatever reason, they didn't attempt to prove that, I think it was a missed opportunity for at least why we were there. Jonathan says, biggest question is, were they properly registered at the address in which they live? I don't even think that that's the biggest question. I think that question is minute in the full scheme of things, right? I think the biggest question really is, right, whose responsibility was it to notify those folk in the annexed area? And today they answer that the circuit clerk and Dr. Ansel had been working to get that information to them, right? So that's not the biggest question. And an even larger question is, they knew that they were annexed because things change. City services change. What did they do? There's a burden of responsibility and a burden of proof that the residents must take. But what's germane to this case, in my mind, is that Dr. Walker's team did not show one shred of evidence that a vote wasn't counted, that a person in the annexed area didn't vote or couldn't vote. They didn't establish that. They didn't prove that. For me, I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have a legal mind. But they didn't prove that. They didn't establish that. And they admitted that. I believe they got so caught up on what they perceived as voting irregularities that they missed the point of why they were there. That's my perception. Because when I think of voter disenfranchisement, I feel like I'm adding a symbol to that word. When I think of that, I think of somebody has stopped me from voting. My vote didn't count. I was turned away. I was told I couldn't vote. And they didn't prove any of that. I did learn, though, that perhaps my definition of voter disenfranchisement was a little too narrow, that I need to broaden my way of thinking. I did learn that, right? But we'll see. They didn't, Dr. Walker just did not, in my mind, prove her case. Shorty says at the end of the day, leave my sister alone. She's tired. She followed the law. She went to several trainings that the Secretary of State office had. Chicana and Anita Ray have been working on this since last August. Voters received cards from Anita Ray office in February. Stop blaming her. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair. No, because I'm just trying to teach you some new words. Germane is absolutely the right word. And it's right in that space, because what's germane to this issue right now is that they did not prove voter disenfranchisement at all. Tiffany says, I think what Jonathan is insinuating was that individual voter registered at the address in which they currently live. If not, and they perhaps live in an area where they previously voted, they wouldn't have been notified. There are so many different moving pieces to consider. Yeah, I get it. And that's a whole nother conversation. So I get what Jonathan was trying to say. But again, that's not the larger question. That's not the bigger issue here at all. But I get what he was trying to say. Again, for me, I believe that everybody did their due diligence. You know, much to Shawnee's point, those persons responsible for mailing cards and letting voters know, I think they did their job. I think they did their job. And I also think that they established that this is a work in progress. They're still working, right? They're still sending out information. It's a work in progress. And at the end of the day, I recognize people get in their feelings, you know. And of course, this came up today. Had the situation been different, you know, maybe they wouldn't have even been in court these last 2 days. So we will await Judge Will's ruling. It's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be very interesting, man. It's going to be very interesting to see how he rules on this one. 2 days of learning, that's for sure. 2 days of learning. I learned an absolute lot in this space. I learned a lot. All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I really do appreciate it. We are absolutely over time, but I certainly do appreciate you guys hanging out. And I didn't even get a chance to talk about Jamal, but my producer is showing these pictures because she knows that we are getting out of here. This brother is absolutely bad. I think that I've become one of his biggest fans. And that crowd there, I was in that number. I was absolutely in that number. That parade shot of him in the car that Percy Bland drove. I actually touched the car. I was that close to Jamal in that space. It was amazing being in the Meridian during that homecoming and that parade. I am absolutely proud. I'm absolutely proud of Jamal Roberts. Absolutely excited. Thank you, America. Nearly 26 million votes came into American Idol on Sunday. That was the highest number of votes in the history of American Idol. So kudos, Jamal. He'll be here in September. He's doing a fundraiser for Alcorn State University. So we'll have some details to share with you on that. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. We certainly do appreciate it. Have a good evening. And so our goal, it's Father's Day weekend. It's that Saturday, right? Our goal is to get in, have some good workshops, get a good lunch and an etiquette session at lunch, right? If we can grab hold of one young man, and if we can partner this young man with an adult male, right? We believe this day will be transformative because we believe this relationship can build and last. All it takes is one. All it takes is one. It takes absolutely just one. And so we need your support. We need your support. We need your support on recommending young men for this.